Imagine being 10 years old and having a doctor look you in the eyes and tell you that your body has simply decided to stop growing. While all your friends are getting taller and stronger, you are stuck in time. For most kids, this would be a disappointment. For a boy in Rosario, Argentina, whose entire soul was built around a soccer ball, it felt like a death sentence. This wasn't just about height. It was about a dream that was slipping away because of a medical condition his family couldn't afford to fix. But wait until you hear how those very same tiny legs eventually carried the weight of an entire nation. In the neighborhood of Las Heras, everyone knew the name Leo. He was the smallest kid on the pitch, often looking like he belonged in a different age group entirely. But the moment the ball touched his feet, the world changed. He wasn't just fast, he was a blur. He didn't just dribble, the ball seemed physically attached to his boots by some invisible string. His grandmother was the only one who truly saw it first, demanding the local coaches let the little kid play against the big boys. She knew, but nature had other plans. At age 11, Leo was diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency. His body wasn't producing what it needed to develop. Without expensive treatment, he would likely never grow past 4'7". Now, imagine the pressure on a child who has to inject himself with hormones every single night. One leg, then the other. Day after day, month after month. It was painful, it was exhausting, and it cost $900 a month. For a family supported by a steelworker's salary, that was an impossible sum. The local club, Newell's Old Boys, promised to help, but the money never came. River Plate, one of the biggest clubs in the country, saw his talent and gasped. But when they saw the medical bills, they turned their backs. They saw a liability, not a legend. They saw a boy who was too small to survive the brutal physicality of professional football. But here is where the story takes a turn that sounds like a movie script. Across the Atlantic Ocean, a scout for FC Barcelona heard rumors of a midget in Argentina who played like a god. Carlos Rexach, the sporting director, flew to see him. It took less than 10 minutes of watching a 13-year-old Leo play to realize that he wasn't looking at a sick kid, he was looking at the future of the sport. But there was a problem. The Barcelona board was hesitant. It was a massive risk to sign a foreign child and pay for his medical treatments. Rexach knew he couldn't let him leave. In a moment of pure desperation and genius, he grabbed the only piece of paper he could find in a local cafeteria. A paper napkin. Right there, on a thin piece of tissue, he wrote out a contract that would change history forever. Leo and his father boarded a plane with nothing but a dream and a napkin, but the struggle was just beginning. Moving to Spain meant leaving his mother and siblings behind. It meant living in a hotel, still taking those painful injections every night, and sitting on the sidelines for months due to transfer disputes. He was lonely, he was quiet, and his teammates thought he was mute. They nicknamed him Enano, the dwarf. They thought he was a mascot, not a player. But then came the training sessions. The first time he stepped onto the grass at La Masia, the famous Barcelona academy, the taller defenders tried to bully him. They tried to use their size to shove him off the ball. They failed. They found out what the rest of the world would soon learn. Being small was his greatest advantage. His center of gravity was so low that he could change direction while everyone else was still trying to plant their feet. He was a ghost in the box. He was faster with the ball than most players were without it. By the time he was 17, the injections had worked. He had reached 5'7", still small by athletic standards, but more than enough for what was coming next. When he finally made his first team debut, the world stopped. Here was this teenager with long hair and a jersey that looked 2 sizes too big, stepping onto the pitch at the Camp Nou. People laughed, until he scored. And then he scored again, and he never stopped. He wasn't just playing football, he was rewriting the physics of the game. He took the rejection, the pain of the needles, and the whispers that he was too weak, and he turned them into 7 Ballon d'Or awards. He turned them into 4 Champions League trophies, but there was still one giant shadow looming over him. Back home in Argentina, some people still doubted him. They said he wasn't Argentine enough because he left so young. They said he could never win for the national team. For years, he faced heartbreak after heartbreak. Lost finals, a temporary retirement, and the crushing weight of being compared to Diego Maradona. It seemed like the one thing he wanted most, a World Cup, was the one thing his body and his destiny wouldn't allow. Fast forward to 2022, Qatar, the final stage. He was 35 years old, the old man of the tournament. The boy who was told he wouldn't grow was now the captain, leading a pack of young players who grew up with his posters on their walls. The final against France was the ultimate test of will. It was a roller coaster of emotions that pushed the world to the edge of their seats. When that final penalty hit the back of the net, the story was complete. The boy from Rosario, the one who spent his childhood sticking needles into his legs just to have a chance at a normal life, was now standing on top of the world with the golden trophy in his hands. He didn't need to be 6 feet tall to reach the stars. He proved that greatness isn't measured in inches or centimeters. It's measured in the persistence to keep going when your own body tells you to quit. He was told he was too small to play. He ended up being too big for the world to ignore. So the next time someone tells you that you lack the right build, the right background, or the right tools to succeed, remember the boy and the napkin. Remember that your perceived weakness might just be the very thing that makes you unstoppable. Because in the end, it wasn't the growth hormones that made him the greatest of all time. It was the heart that refused to stop growing, even when his body did.